Business Banter Plus TV is a division of True Social Media. Good day. It's Elaine Lindsay from Business Banter Plus TV, what we colloquially call the BBPTV show. That's a whole mouthful. Today I'm here with the lovely Marie Platske. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, so happy to have you. I am just chock full of excitement because, wow, you have quite the life story. Without further ado, I'm going to give you a little look into Lisa Marie, and that will hopefully pique your curiosity as well. Her company is called Upside Thinking Inc. She's the president and CEO. Now, when she was young, you're going to love this. She dreamed of being a solid gold dancer. Oh my God, I so love that. I found that out. It cracked me up. That's perfect. But, okay, here's the great part. She actually started in a totally different vein. And eventually, she left an action-packed life as a federal law enforcement officer. Bet you didn't see that coming. She became the CEO of an international leadership training and consulting company. This is Upside Thinking Inc. She's an award-winning leadership expert. She's an author, a certified master coach, and she delivers high-energy presentations using her proven 7-step leadership process. This centers on being recognized as a leader in your industry and ultimately being seen, heard, and rewarded with 6-figure opportunities for your talents without having to change who you are. Oh God, I love that. I don't like to have stick figures that all do the same thing, look the same. It's too Stepford wives for me. Anyway, Lisa Marie, she's coached multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs, startups, seasoned executives, and nonprofit leaders from 3 different continents and in 20 or more different industries. That's pretty impressive. Lisa Marie is the one you want for any kind of breakthroughs in enthusiasm, productivity, and profitability. And she is, in fact, a 3-time author. Her books are Designing Your Destiny, Connection, The New Currency, and Turn Possibilities into Realities. Now, Lisa Marie has been seen on countless radio shows and magazines and TVs and has a whole host of other things that she's going to tell us. But the one tidbit I want to just leave people on is she was affectionately known as Mary Effin Sunshine. Oh, see, after all those good things and making you look so corporate, we just had to throw in a little bit of real life there.
Absolutely, because that's really who I am.
That so resonates with me. I read that the first time and had to look at it 3 times because I was laughing so hard in that it was such a positive, upbeat, wonderful nickname. Just absolutely loved it. So let's maybe start at the beginning. From solid gold dancer, you I believe started with custom services.
I did. I actually did a stint in banking prior to going into law enforcement after college, and did several years in banking. And it was tough to leave because I think what happens is when you take a job and you are in the job and then you do what you're doing and you get another opportunity to leave something that's comfortable, that you're being paid, that you have the potential to get the next promotion. It's tough to do that, but I stepped into U.S. Customs as my official, using my criminal justice degree.
And you do have degrees plural, is that right?
Degrees plural, yes.
Yes.
So, yes.
Okay, so see, right out of the gate already, okay, there's so many places we can go with this, but what that says to me right off the bat, what I found most interesting about you is, one, you're a risk taker, but you seem to do it in a very smart way.
Sometimes. Sometimes. I mean, I believe that if you don't take risks, that, no risks, no rewards, big risks, big rewards. And so, but I don't know that I was a natural risk taker. I think there was this caution that I would see it and I would go, oh, if I do take this, the possibility would be this, but the possibility is also that you could crash and burn. Okay. And so I would try to weigh that out to be safe. And then I think what happened along the journey is that I recognized you can never really truly be safe or control anything. And the more I tried to control an opportunity or a risk by only putting myself half in, it was like you're not in at all. Does that make sense? You're that level of commitment, really, there's no such thing as being half committed. You're either fully committed or you're not. So that for me was a big lesson. And then I think my risks over time became greater and greater and greater.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting how you put that, because there are different types of people, and there are people who are only ever going to put some in, but
Yes.
you're obviously not one of those. And just the leaps in my head from solid gold dancer to banker to US Customs is like, wow, where are you going to go from there?
Who knows?
Yeah, that's a big leap. So from customs, where did that take you?
Well, customs was, I had no idea. Honestly, the truth is it's a story that I rarely share, but honestly, when I said yes, there was this idea of what I was going to do. And the idea came from television, right? So you see the big mahogany desks and you see, sort of the Charlie's Angels shows. And so that was, I guess a piece in my mind, but also, that being aside, because that I will disclose, the part that I don't share a lot was that when I was at the academy and going through, all of the exercises, the physical arrest techniques and everything, there was this other voice in my head saying, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy. Like, you can't do this. This is not going to work out for you. And so that conversation doesn't help you, when you're in the academy. And so I found myself in this, are you in or are you out? And when I showed up at the job, that continued to where most of the guys really didn't want to work with me. I had long blonde hair and I didn't look like, your typical law enforcement officer. And I think also the other thing is we can smell hesitation. As human beings, we know when somebody's really committed or not. We know when somebody's really passionate about something or not. And I do believe that there are pieces of that where the guys that I work with knew that I kind of felt like this wasn't necessarily for me, that I was kind of in my own struggle with that decision. And I think that's the reason why in the business today, I look at without changing who you are, because I had to do so many things to change who I was back then in order to be accepted, in order to be able to go home alive, in order to, do the job well. And so when I started, I didn't know where it would take me because I really didn't know if I was in. And then after I started in, on a team working in the Marine unit. And from there, I went into narcotics interdiction on the contraband enforcement team. And from there into what would be like money laundering operations on outbound enforcement. And then from there, I did administrative work and I went there kicking and screaming. They said, would you like to take the job? And I said, no, thank you. And after saying no, thank you 3 times, they said, they're really not asking you.
Yeah.
And I thought that's because they see me as something less than capable. So they see me in this admin job. And so I did that for a short period of time and got back out into the field and then got promoted. But all throughout that journey, honestly, Elaine, the thing that I loved was leadership. Like, why are there some people who could be in a job for 17 years doing the exact same thing, never get a promotion, never have anything happen, and be doing the same thing? Is it really because that's what they want? Is it because that's all they're called to do? Is it because there's fear? I was curious about the why. Why do some people, rise through the ranks quickly and you know what I mean? And they find themselves. Do people create opportunities? And I started to ask all these questions. And so that's what led me to the leadership journey and opening my business, because when I was there, I was put on several leadership task forces and worked with outside consultants. And after 9/11 happened, I got to work with consultants to deliver training, to actually create training and then deliver the training in Dallas, Texas. So I just think that when you're open to what the next door might be that opens, which is also a risk, right? Which is also a
Yeah,
big risk.
absolutely.
I didn't know what was going to come, but I just trusted that. The other part, I guess, and this is like the trust part, and I guess I have to bring this in, not I guess, I want to bring this in,
Yeah.
is that I have a belief that everything in the universe is conspiring for my greatest good. That's part of the upside thinking. And that God wouldn't give me something that wasn't going to be good for me. And that piece for me is sort of like, okay, so that's door is in front of me. If it's in front of me, there must be a reason why I should walk through it. And there's a part of me that has the conversation, but I don't want to walk through that door. I don't want to do that thing. And yet I know that, that's just the comfort zone speaking, right? And that the vision is always just what lies outside the comfort zone. And so in order to continue stepping into that vision, it's continuing to look at what doors are opening in front of me.
Well, I'm gonna stop you for a second and first
Sure.
say thank you so much for honoring us with that piece of your story, because I think it really pulls a lot of what people will see about you together, and you showing that vulnerability is so real, which is
Thank
thank you.
you.
That's
Thank you.
exactly why I wanted to speak to you. The other thing is, you know, in law enforcement, okay, the crux of every day, you said, was getting home alive.
Yeah.
And I believe, from what I've seen and what I've heard from you, but I believe there came a point where you did put yourself all in because you knew that was for the greater good, and your people around you came to see and feel that. So I think that's how you not only picked up on the leadership pieces, but were able to step into that arena. One, because you are so open, but two, because you made that choice and you did commit.
Yeah. I think that in the beginning, for me, what I knew about leadership was the leader's the one that has the answers, right? And the leader's the one that is followed because they're smart and they're knowledgeable. And so there was a piece of me that was going, but I don't have all the answers and I don't know everything. And so I put on the armor of fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And that didn't work well for me. Um, and and I think it created some significant barriers between myself, yes, walls between myself and the other officers. And when I let that down and really got clear that there are some things that I'm really smart and really knowledgeable about, and there are other things that I don't know diddly squat about. And can you please help me? And when you do, not only will I be better, but we'll all be better for it. That when I learned to do that, and it wasn't easy, but when I learned to come from that place, what I discovered is that the people around me really wanted me to succeed. and they wanted me to succeed in a very big way. And those that didn't weren't my people anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and so that has served me well in my business, to be able to work with people where I don't have to pretend that I'm perfect. Yes, I'm a master coach. Yes, you know what I mean? I have a master's degree. Yes, I have, you know, blah, 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 and all of these credentials. But when I go into something with, whether it's training or whether it's coaching, it's making it very clear that if they wanted the perfect speaker at the presentation, they might be coming later, or maybe they were earlier, but this isn't, that's not who they got today, right, in front of them.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the coaching clients, to say, like, I'm willing to share with you the back end of what goes on in my business, and, you know, all of the things that I didn't get right. But rather than focusing on the times that I fell, I want to focus on the times when I got up. But I still get to share with you the times that I fell. It's
Well,
just
because
that,
you took the lesson.
right, exactly. And I think that while that came with a lot of angst, and, you know, it wasn't a smooth ride at all, what I look back at now is there's still a sign, you know, there's still people who talk about, you know, what would Lisa do? You know, in my law enforcement career. And that's, that didn't come because I was the smart one. It didn't come because I was the one that had all the answers. It came because I was willing to ask the questions and find somebody else who may have had better answers than me.
And that is the sign of a true leader, someone who knows when they need to ask for help. And that's why you have teams, so that you can, you know, reach out to one of your members so that everybody can uplift everybody else. And
Yes.
that's to me just beautiful, because you seem to have taken each and every lesson and done something wonderful with it. And that in itself is inspirational. It isn't truly about failing. It's about the fact that, as you said, you get up again,
Right.
because life is, it's a series of ups and downs, and we trip, we fall, but it's getting back up. And when you talk about the people that are, you know, there for 17 years and they're in the same place, I think there are so many different types of people. There are those who are quite happy to just
Mhm.
do. They're the busy
Right.
people. They like to do, they like to be part of a team, but they don't have those leadership aspirations. And there are some who get caught up in their own story and fear, and can't break through that, so they never get that opportunity.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Yes, that's very true. There's two different potential stories, and we need the people who are the workers,
yeah,
who they just love it, and that's where their genius is. And we also need to find ways to inspire those that are allowing their fear to stop them, because the world really does need them and their brilliance.
yeah. And I think the workers, they're the foundation
Yes.
that, you know, everything else can build on. Do you find, and this is something that I'm seeing more and more in the past 10 years, everybody in all kinds of corporations and even small business and what have you are starting to really be aware that we do need all the different types of people, and truly no man is an island, no woman is an island, no person is an island. We do need support for whatever we do. And to me, you know, all the wins and the joy is, you know, increased tenfold when you can share it with a
Yes.
great team.
Yes. And I think that's a great question that you ask. Am I seeing it?
Yeah.
And what I would say is I'm hearing it.
Oh, good.
And they're two different things.
Yeah.
So while there's conversation around we need everybody and everybody is valuable, and that's the conversation, I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
And that's the part that's really interesting for me. And so at one point, so while I believe you need a big vision, if the vision doesn't get translated into action,
Yeah.
it's meaningless.
Yeah.
And so when you hear people speak about needing everyone, or everybody's valuable, or diversity matters, and you go into an organization and you look around and you go, really? Are you sure? Because I'm not seeing it. And, you know, even for myself, I want to say it was last year in 2015, that I received feedback from a proposal at a leadership conference. And they said, when I went back and I said, so why aren't you selecting me as a speaker? They said, we've never had a female speak on leadership before.
Wow.
That's exactly right. Wow.
Wow. Oh my God.
Now I understand it's a male dominated industry.
Yeah.
And I have a background to be able to demonstrate that I have worked in a male dominated industry. And yet the topic of leadership is not one that they believe their people could hear from a woman. I mean, think about that. That's just it, and it's not about whether or not I got it. It was the response. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this is one of the things where the same organization will speak about needing perspectives.
Yeah.
And yet the action is we have to do something different.
Well, two things there. First, thank you for making that distinction, because that is really important. And I'm involved with it with a number of different corporations where I am seeing them not only speak it, they're walking the walk because they realize they have to. But what you said about their response, that's a huge assumption on their part to not even give their people the benefit of the doubt. Like, if you just assume we're all too dumb to get it when a woman gives it to us,
Right.
what the hell is that? You know, there have to be other sort of cracks in the foundation, because that's a really huge assumption to make,
right,
and very detrimental for a big corporation.
Yes. So do I think that there are organizations out there that are doing great things? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do I think that there are organizations, but what I'm also noticing is that there's a lot of people who've gotten on the bandwagon to speak.
Yeah.
And less organizations that are willing to translate that into, but what are we going to do about that? So it's even really interesting. I have a friend who runs she's an executive director in a nonprofit, and the nonprofit works with 18 to 24-year-olds.
Yeah.
And in those 18 to 24-year-olds, they're 18 to 24-year-olds who don't have a college degree. And yet, does that mean that they're not smart? No. And it means that, you know, their education and their knowledge may come from someplace else. So they took them out to an organization in cybersecurity, right? And they had a meeting, and part of the meeting is that they look to get these students go through a 1-year program with them to either go to full-time college or make the decision to get it, or they get them a high-paying job after they go through the certification program. And the name of the organization is Year Up, and it's a fantastic program. So at one of these particular meetings, when I was having a conversation with one of the students, what ended up happening was at the, you know, where they're supposed to be learning, the student raises their hand and says, so what about this? And what about this? And while that student was there, this uneducated student found 5 bugs in this cybersecurity system. Yeah. Because, you know, they create things and games with their friends and do things, and they're just explorers and their minds work. And however, what I didn't say about the student is, you know, the student is, you know, a minority who has you know, dreadlocks, looks different, and wouldn't fit into what the typical cybersecurity company would look like. Right, exactly. You know, and the blue hair or the whatever. And it's that piece about, do we stop seeing, right? Do we stop seeing what different looks like, what perspective, what opportunities can be created, what magic can happen, you know? Or like you said, do we not give our employees the benefit of the doubt of saying, wow, you know what I mean? This could be a different perspective. This could be completely different. And you know what? It could bomb, but we're gonna, you know, we're going to position it that this is the greatest thing in the world. And that to me is like, wow, you know, that's the risks that we're wanting in this world, where everybody's included and everybody gets seen for their brilliance, and everybody gets an opportunity to use that to make the world a better place. That's exciting to me.
And it's in how they present it.
Yes.
Okay. If you present it well and are on board, then of course your people are going to see it in a different light.
Yes.
But if you say, oh, we're getting a speaker, well, she's going to talk on leadership, but it's a woman, you know, not the person saying that, but bringing that attitude, we feel it. Okay.
Yes.
You know, when somebody presents someone and they haven't even looked at the person's bio, they don't know anything about the person, you can tell the difference. Okay. And you know, because I will say it, okay, I am that outside the box. I didn't get to go to university. My own choice, my own thing, because I was married at 17, and you know, I was too smart for my own good. I thought, you know, I knew it all, and I was younger than everybody else when I left high school, because I was a year and a half ahead of myself. So everybody what was older, they were getting married, they were doing, so it's like, okay, well, I'll do that too. So I have no one to blame but me. But like the people that don't look outside the box, I second guessed myself for a very long time, and tended to, you know, play down my strengths, because I thought, well, you know, well, I can't really matter. I can't really make a difference. I didn't go to university. Well, guess what? In the 70s, you know, when there was universities I could go to, none of them knew anything about being a host on a show. Nothing knew anything about social media or search engine optimization, or search engines for that matter.
Yes, or computer. I mean, you know, computers and you know, the size of the, so absolutely, I get that. And that's what I'm saying, is that, you know, every single person has something, and it doesn't make a difference. I mean, hey, it's great. I mean, I don't knock the fact that, you know, if you know, I don't disparage myself for having, you know, having gone to college, or it's not a, it's simply that that's not the magic end all, right? And so learning is lifelong. It's waking up every day and looking for those opportunities to see something, because if not, you know, then really you may physically be a certain age, but your mind is 10 years younger, and not in a good way, you know, you know, in a way where it's atrophying and shrinking. And so that for me is exactly the part of when you get to also be that risk taker. You know, sometimes you're out there and you're, you know, you see things differently, and you create opportunities, and you know, you look to do things a bit different. And I really want to say to you, as much as you mentioned earlier about the vulnerability, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that, you know, when people look at you, you know, you're the expert here. You know, you're the person who's created this amazing business, and you have a television show, and you have followers, and you have people who love and respect you. And to know that there are times when even you doubted whether or not, you know, you were getting it right. I think we all need that. It's the humanity that brings us all together. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So now we're going to go right to the crux of where you are. Upside thinking.
Okay.
First of all, love the term, because on anything you see from me, okay, my aim is to improve 1% every day. Has been forever, because knowledge to me is as good as a fine steak. Okay, I think every day
That's
should be filled.
funny.
Yeah, good knowledge, good food, good fun, good friends. So upside thinking came out of your law enforcement. What was the, how did you make that transition? And good Lord, like, I mean, they could not be more disparate. Whoa.
It's true. It's very true. I mean, it's not like they're semi-related or anything like that. So they're pretty far apart. Like I said, I had been doing the leadership work, and what happened was I was dating somebody. And when I met my husband, he was in the government, and we both said, I don't want a serious relationship. And he said, good, because I don't want a serious relationship. So we thought, this will be perfect. And a year and a half later, we were married. So you know how that happens.
Yeah.
And so I was living in the New York area, and he was living in Washington, D.C. And then I took a job in Georgia to teach at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. And he took a job to be the director of the Air and Marine Operations Center in California. And then I know, so you can tell. So if you know anything about the United States, and I'm not getting closer, right? And then I took a job in Dallas, Texas to teach at the Leadership Development Center. And so it was a little bit closer. But really, my husband and I had seen each other every 3 weeks, approximately 2 to 3 weeks, we'd see each other. And so when it came time for me when my husband proposed and he said, let's get married, I really in my head thought, this will just keep going like this. Like, I loved my job and I loved what I was doing. And my husband loved what he was doing. And he was, a pilot who then had gone into management and was now, running facilities, and it was, we had great conversations. I really respected, the depth of knowledge that he had and how he treated his people and his leadership. And so it was interesting for me to, I was in love with his mind, right?
Yes.
As well as, being in love with his body. So, which is a good thing. And
yes.
That's a very good thing. And so when we started to have conversations, it was like, well, people who get married usually live in the same households.
Yeah.
And so it actually was a friend who said that to me. And I thought, okay, so if we're going to, live in the same household, then who quits? Because quite frankly, I really like my job and I like what I do. And we had a long conversation about that. And my husband, had given me a lot of leeway to do whatever I wanted. And Upside Thinking was a name that he had created for what he thought was going to be a company that he was going to move into after he retired.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so he had all of this. He had actually filed for copyright, and he had all of this work that he had done on what he saw the organization. Now, it's I didn't take any of that. All I took was the name.
Yeah.
But what was, I think the piece in that was, most fascinating to me is that I looked at going back into law enforcement. I quit my job. They were shocked. Everybody was really surprised. I went in, I gave in my 2 weeks notice, and I left. And I ended up getting married. I planned a wedding for 6 weeks, moved the wedding up 6 months. People thought I was pregnant, of course, and we just send out a save the date. Now I'm sending out an invitation. It's 6 months earlier. So of course, and had this wedding in Pennsylvania, moved back in with my parents. And we drove out to California, and I sat in the house the first day and thought, oh my gosh, like, what have I done? Because after I quit the job and I moved back in with my parents to plan the wedding in 6 weeks, there was all this like hubbub and that I didn't notice, that not having a job. But now I was in this house that we didn't purchase together. I mean, I had mentioned that I liked it, but it's not like you're doing that, you know, for the purpose of, and I don't know the area. I'm 3,000 miles away from my closest friend or family member. I'm sitting on the sofa and I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm really sad. I feel like, what have I done? And then I would go to things and people would say, oh, you're Jim's wife.
Oh.
And there'd be this part of me that would be like, don't you know who I am? You know what I mean? You know, I had my master's degree first, and I. And the truth is that I really learned during that time to embrace being his wife and to love that title and to be proud of that. But I would tell you, it was not like that in the beginning, you know, not at all. And so then I was at this crossroads of, well, what do I do? You know what I mean? I could do anything, but what do I do? And so I started dabbling in law enforcement, was offered an opportunity to run several police academies, looked into that. Did I want to do that? But I really felt the tug with the leadership part. Like I really felt like there are things in leadership that I have learned the hard way that are elements that I believe could make a difference in the world. Yeah. And so when I decided to open the business, I didn't have no business degree, you know, no friends, no connections, nobody who ever owned a business. Like, what? At the time, thank gosh, I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? Because I never would have, you know, have done it. You know, it just, I was like, sure, I'll open a business, right? You know, why not? And then even getting clients, and I'll tell you, you know, my first contract, it was a $50,000 gig because I know people and I know how to connect and I know how to position myself and I know how to love on people. And so, you know, taking all of those things together, it's been a wild ride. You know, I've you know, made big mistakes. I've, you know, screwed things up. I've lost money. I've gained money. I've, you know, made money. You know, it's been a roller coaster ride. But it was really that gift that my husband gave me to be able to say, if you could design it any way you want, and if you could live out your values, what would you choose?
Wow.
And that was hard because I think, you know, one of the things that, and this is sort of a sidebar, but Elaine, my dad would send me $100 a month because he was afraid, like, you don't have a job. And it's like, how are you going to eat? What about spending money? And even though it wasn't this huge amount of money, it was like his way of being like, are you safe? Do you know what I mean? Are you okay? And
it was him getting to be a dad.
Right. And I look at that as being, you know, such a gift and such a blessing. And I don't know that I would have ever embarked on this if I would have stayed in that, and then I would have just transitioned and transferred to California. I probably wouldn't have left law enforcement. It wasn't that I didn't love my job. It's just that it's that door of opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And being willing to walk through it, even if you don't have the answers, even if you don't know the how, because the how is never your business. It's always about, you know, choosing to say yes, even when you don't get it and it doesn't make sense. And
well, here's a little question in there.
Okay.
When you decided to jump off and do this,
Yes.
what was the little internal voice doing?
Ooh, the internal voice was what you talked about. You know, it was the, I'm not good enough. You have no background. You have no business doing this. Who do you think you are? You're, there are, hundreds of thousands, millions of people who speak about leadership. They all have a background in corporate. You got a background in law enforcement. Why would you think that you have the right to speak about this, that you deserve to speak about this? Who the heck is going to buy from you? I mean, would you like me to keep going on? Because there were a lot of voices that lived in this head.
You made the point perfectly. Okay. Because I think that stops so many people.
Yeah.
But you went ahead and you were able to just say, no, my path is ahead, and I'm taking the door.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you a leader. Absolutely. But that's the lessons that you can kind of help people get through without having to go through the whole schmozzle to get there. And I think that's, that's why you're a master coach, right?
So thank you. Thank you. I think what's interesting is those voices they're so powerful. They're just, you're right. They have the ability to paralyze and to stop big dreams from happening. And one of the things that I will share is that in the beginning, I used to yell at them. Like, I think I was, and so I'd be like, I'd show you, you know what I mean? And so you know what I mean? And so there was this anger. And now I really, when I hear them, yeah, I do. I say, okay, so I get this. You're looking to keep me safe, but know that I've got this. And so it's very different, where before there was this ornery side of me that was like, you just wait, and I found that that's exhausting, because you spend a lot of energy trying to talk louder than those voices versus acknowledging. And what we do as great leaders, right? We acknowledge people, and we hear them first. And after we hear them, we then say, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you wanting to keep me safe. I really appreciate you doing this out of love for me, but know that I've got this. And that's I expend a lot less energy.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a different attitude. And it's funny because, I totally get the rebel thing. I was always, I'll show you. And it's hilarious, because the more you push, the more they push back.
Right.
Okay. When you switch to that more loving attitude, it's so much easier to, as you say, acknowledge and move forward anyway.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I have to say, first of all, I could talk to you all day long.
And the same. This is actually a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I so enjoy getting to talk to people, because I love the fact that people do open up, and I know that the audience appreciates that we're getting to see you and some of the absolutely like phenomenal pieces of you that make you so good at what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
God, it's more than time to wrap up. I'm so sorry. I'm taking lots of your time, but I have enjoyed every second. We always wrap up first by asking if you, our guest, could leave the audience with a little tip or something personal or business that they can implement in their lives immediately.
Ooh, well, we've really had a very open conversation, and I've appreciated that. And there are so many, practical business tips to implement. And based on this conversation, what I would really say that I'd like as the immediately implementable tip is, excuse me, there's my humanness coming out.
I'm going to do that too. Yeah.
It's been a heavy conversation. So I would say that the immediately implementable tip has to do with self-examination, and self-examination from Is there a part of who you are that right now you're hiding out because you're afraid that other people are going to judge you if they knew? And so that self-examination is only one piece of it. If you once you look at that and you say, okay, so yes, there is, or no, there isn't, then I would love for you to have a conversation with 3 people and ask them, what are the 3 things that you appreciate most about me? And I think one of the things is that we don't, people are going to judge us, right? They're going to judge us regardless,
Oh yeah.
when we get it right, when we get it wrong, when we get it in between. And so I think the self-examination is something that we pretend we're too busy to do.
Yeah.
And yet it's really because we just don't want the answer. And that's the part that, you need to find a way to be able to share. And for some people, it's a big piece, and there needs to be more time. So it's not that I'm asking someone to go out and disclose everything, but to understand then how very loved that you are by going to 3 people and asking them. That really, when people love us, regardless of what we do, there's so much forgiveness and mercy. And we don't necessarily allow that to come into our lives because we're busy doing, right? And we're busy, getting it right. And we think that people love us based on what we do, not on who we are.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's maybe you've left me almost speechless. That's absolutely beautiful, and really a nice deep ending for what to me was a really beautifully deep show. I'm here with my guest, Lisa Marie Platske. This has been phenomenal. Her company, Upside Thinking, as per usual, you're going to find all her information and her books and her website on her page on Business Banter Plus TV. Thanks so much for watching. It's Elaine Lindsay, and I'll see you again next time. In the meantime, make your day fabulous. Bye for now. Business Banter Plus TV is sponsored by Truel Social Media, TTLO Inc., Take the Lid Off, and the Start Something Show.